This is TWiT.
Why hasn't esports taken off, especially during this time of COVID? And when will there be that game that everybody wants to watch? Maybe it's Back 4 Blood. The neat thing about these zombie games is the co-op mode, right? You're playing with a group of other people. You're doing it together. You're living through this experience together. She's playing with people who are not in the room, right?
Yeah. She's playing against friends who are remote.
But it's co-op. It's I mean, I think this is. I think that's a good start towards a game that you'd want to watch. There's a team.
Yeah.
So Leo,
sure.
on your esports point, I think we've already reached the point of kind of esports maturity, because one thing people kind of forget is how old League of Legends is now. League of Legends is a game that I played in college, and now I'm going bald. So like it's been around for a minute. And the way that I think about it is, it's kind of like the NBA. Like the NBA is an enormous deal. I have friends who watch basketball religiously. I'm on group chats with them. They send memes that make no sense to me, and they're rabid fans about it. And if you don't watch basketball, you have no idea. And so,
Right.
but yeah, it's kind of established. Some people know about it, but like no one watches it if you don't.
No,
know
if
basketball.
you had somebody had to sit down and explain the rules of baseball to you,
Oh
3
my
hours
gosh.
later, you'd stand up befuddled and say, well, I don't know why anybody watches that game. I feel that way about cricket. I'm sure your wife doesn't,
Yes.
Cory, but
Yeah,
it's
she's not a cricketer, but I just had to explain baseball to my daughter, who was born and raised in the UK and moved here when she was 7, and just never had anyone explain baseball to her. And she came home from like Target with a plastic baseball bat and a ball and said, let's go hit it out in the backyard. And I was like, okay, do you know how to play? Like, do you know? She was like, okay, here are the bases. And I'm like, okay, explain how the bases work. She's like, I'm not sure. Here's what an out is, you know? And it was pretty fun, actually.
it's like me and a wicket. I don't understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really don't
think-
understand a
yeah.
game that could go on for days. It's beyond me. So
I think if you're looking at, the most serious esports, which would be fighting games, we've had fighting game community since 1992 and Street Fighter 2 coming out.
But do people watch it? Like, would they sit in an arena and watch it?
This is kind of my point, that if you look at fighting games, the problem with fighting games is they've gotten more and more and more complex over the years. And if you ever watch an esports broadcast of Evo, which is essentially it's the Super Bowl of fighting games. It's like, who's the best player that year? You almost have to have a PhD in fighting games to understand what they're talking about when it comes to like frame advantage and things like that. One of the things on Twitch that I think esports have really missed the bar on is that the most popular people that stream games on Twitch are very interesting personalities. So it tends to be less about this very, very high level play, and it's more about these interesting personalities, or girls in hot tubs in some cases, but more about the people that are actually bringing you the content. So
that's one form of esports
yeah.
would be Twitch or the Let's Play content on YouTube, that kind of
Right.
stuff. Here's a picture of Evo being played in front of a live audience.
Right.
For some reason, this to me seems more like what in an arena, what an esports. But I guess it doesn't have to be that way, does it? I mean, we by far more NFL hours are spent watching the NFL at home on a screen than in.
But the difference in the
person.
NFL and Evo is like Evo just had to be acquired by Sony because it's not doing super well financially, right? Fighting games have gotten so insular with the skills it takes to play them successfully.
That's the problem, I think, with esports in general, is it's so stratified. It's so niche oriented. It looks like the MOBA games like League of Legends or Dota 2 seem to have they seem to be well suited to esports, I guess, because you have teams who can compete and you can see the teams and you can have personalities. But
That's
I
the
think
thing.
it's
It
stratified.
brings both together.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Leo.
Well, I think that's the problem with the gaming in general, is that the console gamers, the keyboard guys don't like what do they call those? Controllers? Is that what they call them?
Handsets. Okay, but like think about it this way.
I'm sorry, go ahead,
Alex.
I was going to say, just isn't this the normal life cycle of a game? Like, I'm just thinking of Dungeons and Dragons, right? Which just went through this, period of increasing complexity, and then a kind of collapse when they refactored the rules, because they just realized that
It's too hard.
you had to.
Yeah.
The only way to be a D&D player was to have been a D&D player for 20 years,
Right.
and they were starving their pipeline. And I just wonder if that's not, in the nature of all of this stuff, that it just gets more esoteric. A bit like, if snowflakes are falling down on a snowbank, little bits of complexity, and each snowflake is no big deal, but eventually the whole thing becomes so unstable that you have an avalanche, and then you get a new stable configuration in the form of something very simple again,
So here's the counter argument. Chess hasn't changed in 1,000 years.
You don't play three-dimensional battle chess?
Okay, I take it back.
I have.
No,
it wasn't good.
Some games have, I don't know because they're perfect or what, but it's interesting. I thought chess was going to be over 20 years ago when a computer beat the world champion. Shortly thereafter, it was easy to find on your phone a chess game that no human could beat. I mean, it's really gotten to that point. There are now just, chess games with ratings well over 3,000, and no human is that high, even Magnus Carlsen. So, and that has not killed the game, interestingly. We found a way to coexist with the robots. We let them coach us, and we work with them.
Yeah.
I think that's closer to like Super Mario, the original SMB on NES. This is a good game, but it's still religiously played today by speedrunners because of the historical importance.
Yeah, but you made it a new game with the speedrunning, right? That's a different 100%, rule set.
Yeah.
So you're playing the same game, but it's a different goal.
I think that in chess, what has happened, I'm not a chess expert, but what I've heard has happened in chess is there is a new kind of play, which is when a human and a machine learning system play against another human in a machine learning system. They call it the centaur play, where you're half person, half machine. And that apparently makes for a really challenging and interesting game.
That's it. I have not seen that. I mean, we just had the World Chess Championship, which was between two humans a couple of months ago, and that was played. In fact, there's very strict rules, and it's a real problem in chess of cheating, where the guy goes up and goes to the bathroom and looks at his phone, and then comes back and plays. But so they have very strict rules to prevent that from happening. Nevertheless, a lot of the preparation, almost all the preparation, and a German play and stuff is done with the kind of human-machine interface. The machines are very, very good at finding the best move, but it's often not an intuitive move or a move a human would make. It's really interesting, actually, to watch this happen. It might give us some insight into what the future holds for AI in general and an AI-human interaction in general. It's interesting.
I think Magnus Carlsen, though, with his excellent hair, has also
he does have very
chess,
good hair.
Yeah.
No,
kind of a boost.
Much better than any computer. Yeah.
No computer has ever had good hair in the history of computers. But he brought personality, brought pizzazz to it, if you will. And I think that's helped chess grow because personalities combined with hear me out. Personalities combined with skill-based sport are what drives league
you're
viewership.
Exactly right.
And critically, the NFL has had
up close and personal is the phrase. It's how they make the Olympics at all interesting, especially the Winter Olympics, where there's not head-to-head competition. You get the athletes up close and personal so that you care about the person and riding a piece of metal down.
I have to say, I beg to differ on whether computers have ever had good hair. So back in the old days, when I was a smoker and my ex had a long hair Maine Coon, and all of that was ingested into my Mac by I would open it up once a month and remove a kind of nicotine stiffened dreadlock that was an inverse mold of the inside of my computer.
Oh my God.
And for certain values of good hair, that was pretty good hair.
All right. So first of all, we've all switched to vaping now. So no one smokes inside. What is this? The 1400s. But I want to circle back all the way to the point of complexity and
such a horrible image.
Leo can't let it go.
It's like a mullet in your computer.
Yeah. It's a nicotine mullet, Leo. It's even better.
Well, all mullets are nicotine soaked. I think that's
okay. Yeah, it's fair enough. On the points about rules getting more complex inside of a game and having that make it less fun, I think the NFL is a great example of this because now whenever a player makes a catch, they run 48 replays to see exactly where his feet were. It's so boring.
Crazy. Yeah.
So yeah,
I think actually that has happened. That has happened. I think there is a tendency in that direction. I don't know why that hasn't happened at chess.
It's not a judged sport. That's the thing. It's not ref.
There's no referee.
Essentially.
So the referee
no one's making value calls.
Yeah.
Essentially, if you make value calls, the sport's very different. So like an extreme example of this is like competitive drifting, which is all just judged kind of like how well you did, and like skating and so forth. Chess is kind of the other end of that. It's just
yeah, I would say playing chess and competitive drifting are about as far apart as you can get.
And yet both make great sports on Twitch. Hey.
Do you know, I once saw an actual chess boxing match, bringing it back to Russians. I was at a science fiction convention.
Clearly there was vodka involved as well. Okay.
So yeah, Nantes, France, and they had these Russian guests who were competitive chess boxers. And the way that chess boxing works is you have one little skinny guy who's a great chess player and a great big bruiser who's an amazing boxer. And you play one volley of speed chess, and then you get up and you do one round of boxing, and then you do one volley of speed chess, and it's basically a race to see whether the big guy can concuss the little guy before the little guy can mate him. It was definitely the sport of kings.
This is amazing.
Wow.
This is like the biathlon. You're going to ski, and then we're going to hand you an assault rifle.
They played chess, and now they're getting up and they're going to punch each other.
This is like an SNL skit. Look at this.
It is like something somebody made up. It really is.
Oh my
I
god!
love
As opposed to chess, which came down off a mountain on 2 stone tablets. Come on.
I think so. I don't want to say anything, but I think so. The chat room is telling me that Magnus Carlsen's rating is about 2845, and Stockfish, which you can download, it's free, it's open source, is about 3,500. So there's a big difference. Effectively, you can't beat, no human alive can beat Stockfish at chess. It's quite interesting. Meanwhile, the boxers are still fighting it out. I don't want to get a YouTube takedown by the Chess Boxing Council, so I'm going to conclude. This is the World Chess Boxing Championship, a match no one will ever forget. By the way, I just want to point out, 2.5 million people have watched this video on YouTube.
That's because they're all like us. They're like, wait a minute, this is a thing? This can't be a thing.
No. I think it's mostly used as kind of a Yule log during family holidays.
Just have it running in the background. Yeah.
Leo, I have a great new show I want to pitch you for Twitch.
Yes.
We could do this every week.
We could have speed run boxing. It'd be great.
I love it.